So in the last instalment, you saw me make a start on the newly arrived Silver Spirit, which was craving a bit of a freshen up and some long overdue TLC. And after a thorough clean up, I set about breathing new life into the tired old seats. I replaced the engine oil and filter, cleaned out the coolant system and replenished the fluid and filter on that ailing GM400 gearbox. I then moved on to that dirty lacklustre paint, only to find that although the sides of the car had been clear coated, the bonnet, roof and boot was still in its original 40-year-old factory base coat.
Now, before we kick off this episode, guys, I'd just like to say a few words about... We did an episode back in January, episode 92 I think it was, set in New York. And it was with a real gentleman called Elliot Cooker of Cooper Classics. He was in his early 80s and he was really hospitable to us, and he was one of us basically. You know, cars bring us together, and he was obsessed with classic cars, and he just showed us such humility and hospitality. It was just unbelievable. And unfortunately he passed away a couple of weeks ago. And for a guy as charismatic and as lovely and as intelligent, and he was a great raconteur as he was, I think the world's going to be a much lonelier, much sadder place without him. So Elliot, rest in peace.
Elliot, on that note, keep enjoying life, mate.
Okay, so let's crack on. Now, in the previous episode, we dealt with the aesthetics on the car, but in this episode, I think we should work our way through this list of MOT failures and try and get this car back on the road. I mean, there's stuff like the rear tyres were split all the way around, and we changed them in the last episode, so that's being dealt with. The windscreen washers are not working, so that needs some further investigation. We'll get them working. It needs a couple of tie rods on the steering on the front because they're ripped. So we'll sort them out. Also, the rear handbrake was only working at 50%, so I'm going to have a look at the pads on that and, you know, see what's causing that not to be working too. And we'll just do things like replace the main hoses, the coolants, just work our way through it, and hopefully at the end of the episode we'll get an MOT pass, fingers crossed, and if so, we'll take it for a drive and we'll assess the car and see where we're at. So as always, let's get stuck in.
Now, although these hoses don't look like they've been changed for a decade, the fluid's nice and clean, which is a good start. And just like many cars I seem to work on, the top hose is somewhere along the line being replaced over the years, and the bottom one, well, it's just being left, hasn't it? Now, I'm also replacing the thermostat because these tend to stick after a few years of being laid up. Although that doesn't look too bad. And as I've explained, although not essential with the new gasket, I always like to use a tiny bit of the blue gasket seal. That's just my prerogative. So it's out with the old, in with the new. Oof, just look at the state of that. And after a new radiator cap, it's round to the back. Now, unlike conventional handbrakes, these were never designed to stop the car. You could never do a handbrake turn on one of these. So a common thing with these cars is people will drive with the handbrake on, get a few miles up the road before they realise it, until they smell something burning. And you'll notice that the pads will invariably be worn down, because this is probably what's happened in the past. So I'm just going to replace these pads with new, readjust the handbrake, and that should sort out the problem. That rear wing looks a little bit crusty underneath. Another job on the list. Right, that's another one ticked off. Now let's take a look at these window washers. Now the main problem with these is usually in the reservoir itself. Stagnant water turns eventually into jelly and blocks up the suction pipe and the jets, and it just needs to be cleaned out thoroughly and then replenished with fresh water and washer fluid. And this is where my old sucker comes in handy again. Right, now let's move underneath the car and get them tie rods sorted out. Okay, so this is the culprit here, and that's it there. See, that's what's worn. You can see all the play, all the gap in there. It's just worn, the rubber. So I've got to take it out from the back here, take these two off, leave the nut in situ, because that won't affect the steering then, or the camber or anything else, you know. And I'll just replace this, take the two bolts out and replace that, and then do the other side. All good. And I'm just thinking, rather than undo the two bolts of the rod at the back, I'm just going to undo these two at the front and slide it out this way. Out with the old, in with the new. A little bit of a clean up. And as you can see, this nut stays in place, so nothing's disturbed. A little bit of oil or grease, and back in it goes. Now this one's a little bit more accessible than the last one, which is good. Oof. Well, this one's well past its sell-by date. Look at the state of that. That's it. Done. Right, let's get this car in for an MOT, fingers crossed, eh? Oh, mate, look at his back legs. His legs have gone, he's 12 years old now. Oh, is it that time again? Let's have your CBD. I give him this Central Valley CBD oil, just like a drop, tiny drop, because he's only small, like twice a day. You can get it for dogs, this is for humans though. And it works great, it just takes his pain away. And hang on, wait a minute. Go on, there it is. There you go, mate. Yeah, great stuff. You can use it yourself. I don't use it, but give it a year or two, it will be, with my hips and my shoulders and
lying under cars all day long. Anyway, go on, mate. Fingers crossed. Well, success. It's passed. So, let's take this baby out for a drive, shall we? Lovely smooth gear changes, lovely responsive engine. And look at that. Sefton Park we're passing here. It's a beautiful park. See the temperature spot on. We're coming to a stop, so the oil pressure's gone down a bit, but as soon as you hit the pedal, you can see it slowly coming up again, which is what you want. Battery's being charged nicely, and there's your fuel gauge, of course. Really is lovely and smooth, responsive, it's comfortable, it's quiet, gear change is lovely and smooth. You know, it's still got a bit of a way to go, like these door cappings need doing, maybe the dash could do with like relacquering and polishing. You know, as it is, it's a beautiful car. You know, I can't fault it. And it's very like the Corniche and the Shadow, which came before it. But it's almost like they've gone up another level in terms of, you know, fine-tuning all the little comforts, and there's a lot more gadgets. Actually, everything's electric on the seats. We're just turning to Lark Lane now, by the way. Just on the left-hand side here, I mean, we're turning right, but that used to be Cameron Lunt, which was an old Rolls-Royce specialist run by Roy Cameron. It used to be littered with Rolls-Royces, Corniches and Shadows, right through the 1980s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and then he moved. I'm just going to take you into Lark Lane itself, which is kind of a very bohemian, bougie part of town. So as we turn into Lark Lane itself, you've got one of them croissant places that has all the really nice pastries, and it's actually gone viral on TikTok. I think you see queues around the block every weekend. And it's just over here on your left, down here, Lunco. You can see the nice pubs and bars. And this has been like this for years. Even back in the 70s and the 80s, it was always a little bit trendy and bougie. But even more so now. People love to go out and have a coffee and a croissant and chew the fat and talk rubbish. And yeah. And there's all these pubs have sport on, and you know, all the Liverpool and Everton fans come down here to watch the game and have a few pints. It's a really lovely area to live and hang out in. But yeah, I think, you know, if you're interested in getting into the Rolls-Royce ownership thing, this is a great first car. You know, they're really cheap at the moment. They're not going to be this cheap for long because they're getting a great following. You know, people who grew up in the 90s, you know, this was synonymous with cars that were about at the time. And parts are readily available, you know, from the likes of IntroCar. You know, it's not as if the parts are really super expensive and in short supply, because a lot of these companies are remanufacturing, especially IntroCar is remanufacturing old obsolete parts and making them actually better than the 50-year-old originals. So yeah, you know, this is a good starter car to get into for anyone who's interested in Rolls Royces or getting into the classic car side of things. I mean, this car is lovely, it's pure luxury. But just make sure, if you are buying one, to look at it long and hard and know what you're looking for, and make sure everything's in the right place and the money's being spent in the right place on the servicing and the maintenance of the car, because that's what can really trip you up on one of these. If it's been poorly maintained, it can end up costing you a lot of money. But a lot of them, because of the owners, you know, had money, they were well maintained. So like I say, not a bad car, not a bad Rolls Royce to get into as a first car.
Okay, so I feel like we've come a long way, we're making progress, and even though there's plenty more jobs to do on this car, next week we're back on the Bentley. Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you all next time.